I don't mean to come across as a crotchety old man waving his cane while proclaiming how much better things were back in his day, but there were some things that were objectively better when I was young. The most obvious being the beauty of VHS cover art. I cannot tell you how many times a movie, especially a horror movie, caught my eye because of its cover art. Hell, I distinctly remember sneaking over to the horror section of my Blockbuster Video just so I could check out all the creepy imagery on display. It was fun! As a kid, I was not allowed to watch scary movies, so looking at the VHS covers was the closest thing I can get to watching the movie. Now you see, there were two kinds of cover art. You had the ones that used live-action photographs of the main characters, and you had the ones that were hand-painted artwork. The live-action ones were still pretty cool. I remember Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. It was simple, but effective. This VHS cover had a blue background with Freddy Krueger kneeling over this gothic, bone-like stroller. He was holding up one claw to his lips to hush the audience. And while his expression wasn't scary, the stroller sure as hell was. It looked to be a combination of bone and blackened flesh. It always stood out to me. The other movie that stood out was Hellraiser. Again, a simple design, but I found it to be quite menacing nonetheless. Pinhead was standing in the center of the cover. He was holding a partially solved puzzle box, and it looked like he was offering it to you. But what struck me as scary about this VHS cover was his expression. You see, Freddy usually had some kind of smart-ass expression on his face, whereas Chucky would be laughing maniacally. Pinhead, on the other hand, looked pissed, his lips curling back in a quiet snarl, his eyes narrowed and filled with rage, the hooked chains in the background dangling with deadly intent. This was a VHS cover that stuck with me all throughout my childhood. On the other side of the coin, you had the artistic cover art. These were painted images meant to capture the spirit of the movie. The movie that springs to my mind every time I talk about cover art is the 1985 horror comedy House. The VHS cover was absolutely terrifying for a young me. It showed a severed hand ringing a house's doorbell, and it was super detailed. With the veins and muscles showing, you could see the bones in between the rotted out sections of flesh, and beneath it were the words, "Ding dong, you're dead." Another movie that I think about is Chopping Mall. A simple design, but so much fun to look at. It shows a robotic claw clutching hold of a red shopping bag. Through several rips and tears of the bag, you could see various body parts sticking out. Eyes, fingers, an ear, even a screaming face. Like the Dream Child VHS cover, this was simple and effective. It told you everything you needed to know about the movie. It was a horror film that takes place in a shopping mall. What was fun about these artistic designs, however, was that it rarely involved a scene from the movie itself. You see, there's no shopping bag full of body parts in Chopping Mall. In fact, the robots in the movie don't have hands to begin with. House also does not include a severed hand that rings a doorbell. Dead Alive does not have a woman peeling her face off to expose a skull beneath. Waxworth does not have a little person opening a door to a melted mass of horrible faces. And Evil Dead does not have a woman being dragged underground by a zombie hand. But you know what? It didn't matter if the art matched the scene from the movie. It was still very eye-catching and fun to look at. Unfortunately, as time went on, VHS and subsequently DVD cover art began to change. They focused less on showing the concept of the movie and more on the actors who star in the movie. You can see this a lot in the late 90s to early 2000s. Cover art changed thanks to the reemergence of the slasher genre. Live-action photos of the main cast posing in front of the killer became the norm. Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Soul Survivors, The Faculty, Final Destination, The Curve, the list goes on and on. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule. We still have some fantastic stylized cover art, but it's not like it used to be. Now, I understand it costs more money to produce something unique for your cover art, but there was just something special about the way it used to be. So tell me, what was your favorite horror cover art? Which movies stood out for you the most? Let us know in the comments, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Grim Reflections. I am Mazer, and I will see you next time.